It's Dean the General from Three of a Kind with a Genesis Overdose, comprised of discography, tier list, membership, and greatest songs. The original lineup was Tony Banks, Michael Rutherford, Peter Gabriel, Anthony, Ant Phillips, and Chris Stewart. They recorded a couple of singles before John Mayhew became their drummer. This lineup recorded the 1969 album From Genesis to Revelation. Mayhew was replaced by John or Jonathan Silver for the album Trespass, which came out a year later. Phillips left to be replaced briefly by Mick Barnard and eventually Steve Hackett. The classic lineup also featured Phil Collins on drums. They recorded a string of successful albums: 1971's Nursery Cryme, Foxtrot a year later, Genesis Live and Selling England by the Pound in 1973, and the landmark double album The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway in 1974. A year later, Gabriel left, leaving Collins as their lead singer. This quartet put out A Trick of the Tail and Wind and Wuthering in 1976, along with the live album Seconds Out a year later. Hackett left for a solo career that same year. Their most popular era began in 1978, and then there were three. Duke followed 2 years later. Abacab was released in 1981, followed by Three Sides Live 1982, the self-titled Genesis album in 1983, their most successful album Invisible Touch 1986, and We Can't Dance 1991, the final studio album with Collins. They put out a couple of live albums before his departure was announced. Their new lead singer was Ray Wilson. However, this lineup only released one album, Calling All Stations 1997, breaking up approximately 1 year later. Three important compilations followed: Archives Volume 1 1967 to 1975, Genesis Archive 2 1976 to 1992, and Turn It On Again, the hits. Characters include Tony Banks, keyboards, occasional guitars, and backing vocals. He also had a modest solo career during the 80s and 90s, eventually settling on classical music. Michael Rutherford, bass guitar, backing vocals, and eventually their lead guitarist. He also formed the band Mike and the Mechanics during the mid-1980s. Peter Gabriel obviously went on to a successful solo career. His best-selling album is called So. Ant Phillips began a solo career in the 1970s. Not much was heard of the following members after leaving Genesis: Chris Stewart, John Mayhew, John Silver, and Mick Barnard. Phil Collins had the most commercially successful career of the band, peaking around 1985. Steve Hackett had arguably the most critically successful solo career, also playing in a band called GTR for a brief spell. Chester Thompson and Daryl Sturmer were live replacements, although briefly they had Bill Bruford on drums. Finally, Ray Wilson, singer of their last studio album. The last section is Most Important and or Likeable Tunes. We're going to end with their greatest song: The Knife, I Can't Dance, The Brazilian, title cut to The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, The Musical Box, Counting Out Time, Misunderstanding, Follow You, Follow Me, I Know What I Like in Your Wardrobe, Watcher of the Skies, A Tie Between, That's All, and Taking It All Too Hard. The original version of Carpet Crawlers, Ripples, Horizons, and Supper's Ready as one track. Illegal Alien, Firth the Fifth, Abacab, Dancing with the Moonlit Night, and No Reply at All. Check out Three of a Kind for other videos, including tier lists. Comment, subscribe, like. Thanks for putting up with Genesis Overdose.